Sark is a part of the Channel Islands in the southwestern English Channel, off the coast of Normandy, France. It is a royal fief, which forms part of the bailiwick of Guernsey, with its own set of laws based on Norman law and its own parliament. It has a population of about 500. Sark, including the nearby island of Brecu, has an area of 2.10 square miles, or 5.44 kilometers. Little Sark is a peninsula joined by a natural but high and very narrow isthmus to the rest of the Sark Island. Sark is one of the few remaining places in the world where cars are banned from roads and only tractors, bicycles, and horse-drawn vehicles are allowed. In 2011, Sark was designated as a dark sky community and the first dark sky island in the world. Sark consists of two main parts. Greater Sark, located at GPS coordinates 49 degrees 25 north and 2 degrees 22 west, and Little Sark to the south. They are connected by a narrow isthmus called La Cubier, which is 300 feet or 91 meters long and has a drop of 330 feet or 100 meters on each side. Protective railings were added in 1900. Before then, children would crawl across on their hands and knees to avoid being blown over the edge. A narrow concrete road covering the entirety of the isthmus was built in 1945 by German prisoners of war, under the direction of the Royal Engineers. Due to its isolation, the inhabitants of Little Sark had their own distinct form of Cirquarius. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I'm not that good at French. The native Norman dialect of the island. Along the coast of Sark, you can find, besides the beaches and ports and bays, you can also find this formations in the rock cliffs, like here, the butterfly eye rock, which was formed naturally. Also, you can find coastal caves. When you arrive at Sark, you will most likely arrive at the Le Meslin jetty. From there, you will most likely board a wagon pulled by a tractor that is called the toast rack, seen here in these photographs. The jetty is underneath or at the bottom of the cliff, underneath this beautiful lighthouse that sits atop the cliff. In 1993, the Barclay brothers are considered to be the richest brothers in Europe, bought the lease of the island of Brecu, one of the smallest of the Channel Islands, just off the coast of Sark. It is considered a sister island and is part of the 40 acres in the tenement of Sark. The the Barkley brothers are 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 very private, and the island have made the island off limits to visitors, and reportedly have ringed the island with motion detectors and other security devices to keep unwanted visitors away. On both of my trips to the island, I stayed at the Descartes Hotel, which is said to be the oldest hotel on the island. Victor Hugo, who famously stayed at the Descartes during his exile in the 1850s, described the island as a sort of fairy castle full of wonders, and found here his inspiration for Toilers of the Sea. It is the only hotel on the island to have its own beach and bay. The absence of cars on the island means that you can find true peace lying on the sandy shores with only the sounds of birdsong and the waves gently crashing on the shore in the background. The walk down may be long, but the array of wildlife means that there will be always something for you to look out for. Free mooring means that the bay is often populated with boats, yachts, and dinghies galore, and is the perfect place to take a break and breathe in the magic of Sark. Sark is renowned for its magically dark skies due to the absence of cars, neon lights, and street lamps. It's officially one of the best places in the planet to watch the stars and reached its International Dark Sky Island status in 2011. If you arrive without your own stargazing kit, the Sark Observatory in the middle of the island has kits available to hire, and members of the Sark Astronomy Society are happy to show you the telescope and talk you through the star constellations you can spot on a projected screen. There are no improved roads on Sark other than the concrete path across Le Cubier. Dirt-packed paths are the only public transportation corridors. Most residents avoid using horse-drawn conveyances because of the expense. Residents and visitors walk, bicycle, or hire those expensive horse-drawn carts to get from place to place. The Signory Gardens is set within the grounds of a 17th century manor. The walled garden is considered one of the finest in the Channel Islands. An estate dating back to 1565 that was built on the site of a 6th century monastery of Saint Magalore. Many unusual half-hardy plants thrive within the walled garden, ensuring a colorful display from spring through autumn. The gardens are a place to relax, unwind, and find inspiration. There are 4 diverse acres to explore. A highlight for children is the maze with a mini castle at its heart. The oldest chapel on the island, now used for marriages, has an earthen floor. Can be found here. Also, cannons are on display here as well. As you can see in these pictures I picked up with one of the old cannonballs and joked, "Make my day." The Sark windmill was built in 1571 as a seigneur's or at the seigneur's expense. It is situated on the highest point of Sark, which is 114 meters or 374 feet above sea level, called Les Moulins after the windmill. It is a 3-story tower mill with an ogee cap. An ogee is an object, element, or curve often seen in architecture and building trades that has a serpentine or extended S shape. In the early 19th century, the mill was burned by Sark tenants protesting against the seigneurial system there. But it was later refitted with new machinery and heightened. It was working by wind until 1917. Although the cells were removed during World War I, it was used as an observation tower during the German occupation. The mill had 4 double patent sills and was winded by a fantail. The mill was featured on the 1971 and 1977 2-pence coins issued by Guernsey. On my last trip to Sark, I had the opportunity to see Sark's Midsummer Garden Show. Landscapers and amateur gardeners anticipate the Midsummer Show all year long, as this June event takes center stage during summer, held at the Island Hall in the heart of Sark. Midsummer Show is a horticultural exhibition and showcasing the local gardening talent around the island. The children's displays will astound newcomers to the event. And when I was there, it was June of 1999, and it was a very interesting, although small, show. In my I had the opportunity to meet Senor John Michael Beaumont, otherwise known as Michael Beaumont, and according to Wikipedia, which I'm reading from, Senor John Michael Beaumont, born December 20th, 1927, and died July 3rd, 2016, was the 22nd Senor of Sark in the Channel Islands. He worked as a civil engineer before succeeding his paternal grandmother, Sybil Hathaway, the 21st Dame of Sark. And let me break right in there. During my visits there, I heard some very interesting stories about the Dame of Sark. She was a person that, even though they were under German occupation, she did not quite go along to get along. So anyway, back to what the Wikipedia says about Michael Beaumont. During his rule, Beaumont saw the loss of many of his feudal rights enjoyed by the previous seigneurs, and he was consequently often described as the last feudal baron. Beaumont was the son of Royal Air Force officer and film producer Francis William Beaumont and his wife Enid Ripley. His paternal grandmother, Sybil Hathaway, ascended as a Dame of Sark 6 months before his birth. Francis and Enid divorced in 1937 as a result of his adultery with an actress, Mary Lawson, whom he subsequently married. Beaumont's father and stepmother were killed on May 4, 1941, during the Liverpool Blitz, which left the 14-year-old Beaumont as heir to his grandmother. Beaumont worked as a structural design engineer for the British Aircraft Corporation in Bristol before moving to Shoreham by Sea, where he worked on Beagle aircraft. In 1956, Beaumont married Diana Law Trubay Bateman, and the couple had 2 sons, Christopher and Anthony. In 1974, Beaumont's grandmother died, and he succeeded her as Seigneur of Sark. The new Seigneur swore fidelity to Queen Elizabeth in 1978 when she and the Duke of Edinburgh visited the island for the first time since his ascension. In 1990, a French nuclear physicist named André Guernsey came to Sark to depose Beaumont and establish himself as seigneur. But this one-man invasion attempt failed. During her 2001 visit, the Queen made the seigneur an officer of the Order of the British Empire. In 2008, Sark experienced a major change in the system of government. Beaumont remained the overlord of the island, but lost some of his privileges. He did retain the privilege of being the only person on the island with the right to keep pensions and an unspayed dog. The first democratic elections on the island took place in December 2008. Beaumont appreciated the fact that it allowed his island to stay independent from Guernsey. Due to their poor health, the aging seigneur and his wife moved out of Le Seigneurie, the traditional residence of the ruler of the island, to a more manageable cottage on their estate. In 2009, they agreed to allow David Sinnott and his wife to live in the seigneurie for 10 years, until the end of October 2019. The rent is paid through renovations, and Sinnott said that the seigneur was effectively making a large and generous donation to his successor, who will benefit from the work. Beaumont's heir, his son, Major Christopher Beaumont, lived and worked with his family in Britain and served as an officer in the Royal Engineers. In 2008, he told the Chief Pleas that he intended to move back to Sark upon inheriting the fief. In 2011, the seigneur declared that he would never consider selling his fief. Beaumont died July 3, 2016, and was succeeded by his eldest son, Christopher. Beaumont's widow, Diana, died Alright, a few months later, on December 1st, 2016, she was 80 years old when she died, which was less than 5 months after Beaumont's death.